My name is Jenna Sobocan, and joining us today is Marc, President of Eatwell Group. Hi, Marc. How's it going?
Going great, Jenna. Great to see you.
Good. Can you give us a quick pitch on the company? If you only had 30 seconds, how would you describe Eatwell Group?
Absolutely. Eatwell Group is one of the only truly globally vertically integrated plant-based food companies. I'll say that one more time. One of the only global vertically integrated plant-based food companies. We've created that by design with a seed to market business model that is taking advantage of the secular trends in plant-based foods at multiple levels, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But that's what you have. You have a business with real revenue, real income, real products, and real IP today, vertically integrated by design from the beginning in a seed to market basis.
Wow, that's amazing. Thanks for sharing that. Can you tell us a bit about the addressable market size of the company?
Yeah, it's a bit funny. About every few weeks, I quote data, and I feel like it's outdated because the same every few weeks, the latest reports coming out. Listen, in the simplest terms, plant-based foods addressable market is anybody with a body. That's the simplest way to say it. But let me give you some real numbers. When you look at traditional meats and where plant-based foods is, traditional chicken is a $200 billion market. Pork is over $300 billion. Today, plant-based foods is $12 billion. If you look at plant-based protein, Bloomberg came out a few weeks ago with a report that said 10% of the world's protein is going to be plant-based over the next couple of decades. That's 160 billion. So any which way you cut it, you have a global multi-point secular trend that says there are hundreds of billions of dollars of revenue growth. But at the end of the day, every business is a function of who buys whatever you have and how much do they use it. So the way we've built our model, we are a B2B scale supply business. So we have B2B customers who use our products for ingredients, and we have some consumer products we're building out today. So that addressable market is anyone with a body. In fact, there's a good chance if you've had some plant-based foods in the last couple of months, it could have come from our upstream pulse processor, Belle Pulses.
Right. It's crazy to see how fast the plant-based food market is growing, and I don't even think people are realizing it. So that's cool.
That's exactly right. I think, it's funny. I tell folks I started my career in maybe one of the most original plant-based food businesses. It was a Quaker Oats company. So I've been a consumer product executive for over 20 years. And plant-based foods has had a couple of things that helped it grow faster. Number one, it's more delicious. So we have found better technology, actually, and I'm sure we'll talk about our team in a minute, but we have a chief technology officer who runs R&D and operations for us. So we've married up much better technology in the last 10 years than say 20 or 30 years ago. If you said vegan or plant-based 30 years ago, people might say cereal or oatmeal, or they might have some bad experiences with, let's just say some hot dogs or tofurkey or things like that. So the technology's gotten much better. The understanding and the science has gotten much better. So it's not simply that we have environmental stewardship at play. We have better understanding that plant-based foods, or pulses in particular we'll talk about, they actually help balance the environment. So they manage nitrogen and carbon in the air. They help manage the methane in the air that's put off by traditional meat production. And they also mineralize the soil. So we have real data now that helps us understand how good plants are for the environment. Things we've known since we were young, but we have real data now. And we also have better tasting food, better technology, and all that to say folks are giving themselves new permission that they don't have to be a vegan. They could be flexitarian. Who knew we needed a term for it? But they don't have to be a vegan to enjoy a little bit more plant-based in their diet. And we've learned so much medically and physiologically about gut microbiome, brain health, cholesterol, blood physiology. All those things are just better supported with longevity in plant-based diets.
Yeah, absolutely. So, further expanding on that, what makes your leadership team stand out from your competitors?
Listen, it's a good question. We've had it a few times, and here's where I'd start. We're not new to the space. We're not entrepreneurs. We're not opportunists who just came into the space to make a quick buck, in really simple terms. Across our leadership team, we have over 100 years of experience in plant-based foods. That might be from our management team at Belle Pulse, which we can talk to in a moment, with a 4-decade-old mature company that leads in pulse processing profitably and sells in 35 countries. Tony and Francis are delightful leaders. Dr. Bartone, who leads our Sapientia IP group, which is food CPG products, primarily snacks, who's a 25-year veteran of the food space. And then you have someone like myself who's been in plant-based foods for a number of years now, and my partners, Barry Dodato, Patrick Dunn, and Marc who helped build facilities that ended up selling to players like Ingredion, which is a New York Stock Exchange Fortune 500 pulse processing or ingredient processing business for plant-based food. So our management team has been doing this for 100 years collectively. We have been early investors in companies like Beyond, in Green Monday, when the multiples back then were crazy. When folks said, how is Beyond worth 100, $200 million? We were early investors in that business, so we know what the space looks like. And you know the rest of the story, of course, of their valuation today. We have folks in our team who are actually technologists and I might even say culinary craftsmen in plant-based foods, which we'll be announcing sooner in terms of our advisory team. We also announced about 10 days ago now, Prince Khaled bin Talal, who is of KBW Ventures, one of the pioneering architects of plant-based foods and the plant-based movements out of the Middle East. So we've built a team that has decades of experience, who've also learned a lot of things the hard way, and who also understand the importance of a vertical integration. That's why our model is compelling. That's why investors say there's something a little different here. If I could expand just a bit more, today, most of the companies in the space have a piece of the chain. So they're a branded business or a commercial business. They're upstream and they're close to the farm, or they're a tech company. They're R&D and food tech, and you're waiting 3, 4, 5 years to monetize that, Jenna. But for us, we're vertically integrated by design from the get-go, and that's because our team has lived through it. Whether it's omni-channel business development, like I've done in my career in consumer products in over 24 different categories, half a dozen companies, big brands like Gatorade or other nutrition-based businesses and plant-based businesses like Amazing Grass here in Southern California, we have a tremendous amount of experience and we have a tremendous ecosystem we draw on.
Yeah, that's very impressive. And it's always good to know that you're working with amazing people. And it sounds like your team's remarkable. It sounds like you're working with some of the best. Is there anything investors should keep an eye out for when it comes to the Eat Well Group's business strategy?
Yeah, I think there are two compelling things. I'll risk repeating that there are some companies today that are asking you to join them for the long term. Now, listen, all the folks in the plant-based food business are our friends. There's a tremendous opportunity, and the tide is raising all the boats. So we are very familiar with the players in the industry. When people ask us, have you heard about so-and-so? We probably don't just have heard about them, but we know them. We know their business, and we've helped develop things with them. But here's what we would tell you. We're practical today. We have real revenue today. We're targeting about $60 million Canadian for 2021 revenue with around $15 million of gross profit. So we have real revenue today. That's one thing investors can look at. We're not asking you to wait 3, 4, 5, 6 years to have monetized IP. The next piece we have is we have a test market that'll be launching at the end of the year with our Sapientia vegan Cheeto product. So Dr. Bertone, who's a PhD in food science, one of the leading extrusion experts in North America, if not globally, has developed a high protein, highly functionally nutritious vegan Cheeto that will be launching in the Federated Co-op. Your Canadian viewers will know by the end of this year, and then we'll be moving that into an e-commerce basis as well. Listen, the snacking trend is here to stay. If I were to marry up the plant-based food trend with any other one, it'd be snacking. We're all busy, we're all on the go, and we're tired of feeling tired. So we need foods that are better for us. We feel good about giving them to our kids as well. So you can look for the snack items to go into test market by the end of this year. That's real IP that we're monetizing now. You can look for continued growth with Belle Pulses. We are expanding contracts. We'll be sharing news over the next few months. Not quite ready, but we're getting close to share good news with you because there is a global trend with plant-based foods that our partners downstream are calling Belle and saying, can you do more for me today? So if I didn't say it before, Belle is sold in 35 different countries, and we have a suite of multiple pulse proteins. So we're not overly narrow. We're also not overly broad. And what that means is we have a core basket of products we sell, so we know how to manage those for the long term, riding commodity fluctuations and leaning on our 3,000 farmers who are in our buying network. So those are things that are happening right now. And I mentioned to you, we announced Prince Khaled, who's come on our advisory board, the only public company advisory board he's joined. And we'll have more news about advisors and more acquisitions that we're working on. Acquisitions are a core component of our thesis as we round out our vertical chain. I think what your investors can depend on, though, is because we've been doing this a long time and we haven't just shown up as brand new entrepreneurs. We know how to look at fiscal discipline with sustainable gross margin, proper top line trajectory, and that's either through the consumer space with retail, private label or white label products, or B2B. And the last bit I'd tell you is over the coming months and years, we have a significant pipeline of innovation that is all fed through our Sapientia IP group. And these are, for now, let's continue to describe them as snacking. Snacking is projected to be a $70 billion space in the next decade to two. That's salty snacks, salty vegan snacks, which are still in the first inning. So lots more to come.
Well, that's amazing. It sounds like there's a lot of good things coming up. Touching back on that, I'm going to expand again. The vegan snack market is expected to grow to $73 billion by 2028. Does Eat Well have any products under development that you could chat about?
Well, that's exactly right. So the first is the vegan Cheeto. We have 4 times the amount of protein of any of the players on the market. So you're starting with functional nutrition. In the food space, and I've been doing this a long time now, we used to often talk about fun for you food and food that was essentially less bad for you. So the absence of negatives was the functional term. But what we're bringing to market is the presence of positives. High protein, plant-based, delicious, crunchy Cheetos are going to be launching later this year. And those will be in a variety of sizes and different spice formats. And we'll make sure we cater things to the Canadian palate and the US palate. Those will all be coming out in the next number of months. And then we have a pipeline of other opportunities I wish I could talk about, but it's not quite just yet. But let me say this. We're focused on human snacking. We're also focused on pet treats. And we'll be able to do that in places where you see really good margins. The space is not crowded yet. And Jenna, the last bit I would say is when you walk down a traditional aisle at a grocery store, or if you're stopping to get some petrol and you're picking up chips, there's a tremendous amount of space for snacking. The everyday consumer wants things on the go, but the everyday consumer is compromising today. So when we talk about our vegan Cheetos news to retailers today or to new consumers or just our own friends and family, they can't wait to get their hands on it.
Yeah, this is exciting. I can't wait to try them when they come out. What are the company's ambitions for other products beyond that? I know you just touched base. You kind of said maybe go into like the animal, like pets. Like, is there anything else you can kind of discuss?
Well, I'm going to have to come back to you because we're going to have a lot in the pipeline over the next 12 months for sure. I can tell you this, we're having conversations with global partners. These are not just small regional ideas. So we are in conversations with folks in Asia. I've had 2 conversations with folks based out of Italy. So what that tells you is because of our expertise in our management team, we know how to partner cross-border. There's not as much in terms of limitations on our technology, and therefore we don't want to have limitations on our geography. So when you think about additional opportunities in pastas, in crackers, in other value-added items, the plant-based meat space is going to continue to grow. As I mentioned to you, plant-based or traditional chicken alone is a $200 billion space, $200 billion. Today, plant-based foods are only $12 billion. So we are looking at continued places to leverage our technology basis into plant-based meats. That is something we'll do as we continue to drive innovation and differentiation. Those are the kinds of concepts you can see from us. And Jenna, what I would offer for your investors is this. We have a disciplined breadth approach. Like I said, we've been doing this a long time. We know what it looks like when companies overspread their innovation, they launch too many products, and they get in a cash-stuck position. We will have disciplined breadth over the long term. That means that our stock price will grow over the long term, and we're all incentivized to do that to build a sustainable company.
Absolutely. It sounds like there's definitely a lot of great potential that you guys have to look forward to. How can investors get involved, and where can they find out more information?
Great question and a really simple answer. Go to eatwellgroup.com. If you go to our website at eatwellgroup.com, you can sign up for our email distribution list. You can download our latest investor deck, get all the information you need for our stock ticker, and keep your eye out. We are continuing to drive the business press, and you will hear about things week to week from the Eat Well Group. But I would tell you, go to our website at eatwellgroup.com as your best source of information right off the bat. We're all over social media as well.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Marc, and it was very nice talking to you.
Great. Thanks, Jenna. We'll be happy to come back anytime.